This is the second time we're here at Workhorse for Urban Home Content. If you're listening and watching this, that means you're a patron. So thank you very much. You have my gratitude from the bottom of my heart. If you're just listening to this, that means you're not a patron. And we thank you so much for listening to this podcast. But we also want you to check out patreon.com/Toussaint Morrison to check out more interviews with artists, people, their process, and how they got into it. Let's get started. Chris McDuffie.
Hey.
All right.
Hey.
Thanks so much for doing this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. No problem. I'm sorry. We took a little bit to set up the 3-camera.
You telling me this like I don't know these things. Like, I'm not new to this.
Okay, when did you, I'm curious, what's the like craziest, like, they call them shitty rigs?
Yeah.
Like, what's the craziest rig that you put together?
I started shooting in my dorm room. So, yeah, in college.
Okay.
Absolutely. So, I mean, they were all shitty at the time. So it was like soft boxes out of
You had
Adidas.
a studio in your dorm room?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
So, and you had egg white walls and you made the best of it.
You make the best of it. Yeah, so modifiers out of shoe boxes. I made a beauty dish out of a salad bowl that I like spray painted. But you know, the cool thing about it is you learn about light that way.
Okay.
Just super like punk rock DIY, figure it out, use whatever's at your disposal.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were all shitty rigs at the beginning.
What is a beauty dish?
It is a bowl essentially that kind of spreads the light out in a really nice way.
Okay.
It's an awesome light modifier.
And was there any part of you that was a little bit like, hey man, it's a little bit low down. You know, we're using the dorm room.
Yeah.
We're using a dish. What was it
Just
again?
a plastic salad bowl.
A plastic salad bowl. Was there any
Yes.
part of you that thought, you know, people might think this is weird, and they might not want to work with me again?
Every part of me.
Okay.
Like every client that came through was like, I don't know how they're gonna take this.
Okay. You had clients come through?
Yeah, it was college, so I mean they were peers, but I would do headshots. I was doing portfolios in the dorm room. Yeah.
So you made money from shooting in your dorm room studio.
Yes.
And what got you started? Had you been doing photography before that?
No, so I mean I'm kind of a lifelong artist. I was always drawing or painting or working with clay. I was a band nerd for a number of years, so this is kind of just a progression of being curious about life. Before photography, I was doing custom sneakers, so painting and fabricating on shoes, and I had to take pictures of the shoes. That's how I got into photography.
There's some little white kid, his name is, I forget his name, but he is making millions from custom sneakers.
I believe it.
Like
I should have
he's been-
stayed in that.
That sounds like a very, very lucrative game.
Now, it wasn't back in the day.
What were you writing on? Dunks? Converse?
Mostly dunks, but it's just the industry wasn't built up to where you can make a ton of money. Again, it was just really DIY. People just wanted something different. I got started in high school with that because I couldn't afford Jordans, but I can paint on these sneakers.
I bought a custom pair of Chucks for an ex-girlfriend that had Adventure Time
Nice.
written all over them.
Yeah.
And that I was impressed by that. I felt like it was like they're being churned out of China, like it was Etsy, and it was
Sure.
like, get whatever you want. And
now,
I was like,
now they are absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. But at the time, it's like it was a really cool thing to personalize a shoe and do whatever you wanted to.
can you still do that?
I've got the ability to. I don't have the time.
Do I want to?
Do I want to? I think the last pair of sneakers I did was for my mom.
Oh.
Probably like 10 years ago. She went to
nice of you.
Ohio State University. She wanted OSU shoe.
Okay, Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
All right. They're going through some interesting voter rights laws.
Yeah.
Anywho, so you wanted to be a photographer. What was your first inspiration that you knew you wanted to do photography? Some artists talk about, I got that buzz once I was in that arena, or we were interviewing John Mark and he was talking about, you know, once he stepped into dance studio and started doing ballet, he's like, it got that buzz. When did you first feel that?
I would have to trace it to a portrait by Chuck Close.
Really?
Yeah, so I was in high school. I did like some kind of summer course, some summer art course.
I wonder if it's the one I'm thinking of.
It's probably the guy with the scraggly beard and
The cigarette coming out of his...
coming out of his mouth. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was airbrushed though.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that was the thing. I was like, wow, like this painting looks photorealistic. I've never seen anything this real, but the photograph was just really dope.
I was with like a summer program with, I mean, it was all Black, brown, East African, Asian kids, and I mean, and I was part of it. I was like a youth, and we went to the Walker, and I saw that,
Yeah.
and it like looking from the back, I was like, oh, that's an amazing painting, man.
Yeah.
That white guy really put that together. And then you get closer, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And for me, it brought me into a world of no way.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
When you saw it, where did you see it, and then what did you think afterwards?
The first time I saw it was on a computer.
Huh.
So in the summer course, there was some kind of archive of artwork, and it was just a little thumbnail. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a really cool picture. Like, no, it's a painting. And then years later, actually going to the Walker and seeing that was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This is incredible. Like this larger than life portrait.
They brought it back there a few years ago. I don't know where it went. I mean, you go in and out the Walker, and you see pieces brought in and out, by the donor of somebody's large, portion of money.
Yeah.
But that one changed the game. I wonder if Chuck Close knows that, like, that singular piece,
Yeah.
how much it influenced.
So many people.
Is he still alive, or is he passed, or?
Good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's still with us. I know that he had an injury, like a spinal injury, so he started painting with his mouth. So
What?
same
Like Frida?
thing.
A little
Yeah,
bit?
yeah. Paintbrush to the mouth. I think he's like a quadriplegic, so in a
Damn.
wheelchair, and he started paintbrushing the mouth and still doing the same things.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, for art like that, it kind of, I don't want to say it's neither here nor there whether they're passed or not, but it's like, that art is kind of like transient. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, the name doesn't matter. It's like
Right.
that piece of art, it's like powerful enough to move really anything.
But
So-
as a creative, you want that, right? You
Yeah.
want something that outlives you.
oh, absolutely.
You know, we'll be dead and gone, but if I can make something that has that impact beyond me,
People are still looking at my
still
art.
looking at my art.
Then it works.
Still popping out here.
So you see Chuck Close. How old are you when you saw that?
I must have been 15, 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're sitting. You're from St. Paul, right?
Yeah.
St. Paul Central.
Yeah, St. Paul Central.
Why do you think so many artists came out of St. Paul Central?
Good question. I don't know.
I mean, High Respects.
Yes.
Melvin Carter.
Yeah.
Not really an artist, but I mean, he's a mayor. And
He was my track coach.
what?
Yeah, he was an assistant coach at the time.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him run. It's one thing when you see the times in the newspaper, and you're like, that's a pretty fast time.
Yeah.
And you see them in person, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's impressive.
Super, super inspirational. Even at that time, just
Mm-hmm.
just nuggets of wisdom that I'll never forget that he told me. You know.
So you get influenced by Chuck Close. What's your first setup, or what's your first attempt at a photo shoot?
It started with little point and shoot cameras.
Okay.
So it was
I'm talking Kodak, skidded,
pretty much, and it's what everybody starts. Like taking pictures of leaves and trees and nature and family and just kind of whatever. You know?
What's the difference now in the game from taking pictures and then waiting for them to get processed, and then taking them now and change the lighting?
Truth be told, I didn't have that much to suffer through. I mean, as a kid, I'd have a little Kodak and we send it in and it comes back, but I didn't have an interest in photography. That was just, it's kind of like vacation photos. I didn't see it as an art form at that time. So I don't have a whole lot of experience of having to wait. I'm more of a digital kid where I'm really accustomed to taking a picture and I know exactly what it looks like right away. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How do you do that? I mean, we'll get into lighting in just a little bit, but how do you know what it's going to look like when you're taking the picture via Kodak?
No, I'm saying I didn't have that much experience with Kodak.
Yeah. Oh.
So I'm mostly digital. I really cut my teeth on digital and
When did
post-production.
digital come into the game, though?
I think officially it was one of the first digitals was 92, but it was really rough and no one got it. I think kind of turn of the century was really when stuff started picking up.
Yeah, why am I thinking digital came into the game in 2005 or something? Maybe I was just late to the show.
It got popular then. It got
Yeah,
popular.
it got affordable.
Yeah. That's really what it was. I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
probably wouldn't have got in had it not been as affordable as it was at the time.
Yeah.
You know?
So you get into digital, and then where did you learn lighting, and how did that play? I mean, for photography, for film, a lot of people will make film and you can make a film with shitty lighting,
Sure.
but I mean you can take a photo with shitty lighting too. I don't know if you can now, but because I feel like the filters and whatnot can make it look like anything.
Sure.
But a film can absolutely not make it past the point of acceptance if this is bad lighting.
Yeah.
Where did you learn lighting, and who did you learn lighting from, if anybody?
I would say some of those initial folks that really inspired me were like the Annie Leibovitz and Richard Avedons and
Her like eye is insane.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so like when you learned lighting, once you learn it, like is it just kind of like ingrained, or like is it something that is it just how you're like viewing this right now? Like are you always seeing lighting? Like once you
Absolutely.
take the pill, like it's like you see the Matrix at all times.
It's true. So when I got started, there was a website called Strobus. I think at the time it was a blog. And it was some guy that worked for a paper and started a little blog on just lighting, little Strobus flashes, and I learned a lot about how to see light from that blog. So you kind of reverse engineer pictures, you look at catch lights, just really breaking it down in a more scientific way.
I've seen some people, and I wonder what ilk you are, there's some gaffers, older gentlemen that just, they don't need to really see it, they kind of just, like this and this, and then other like younger gents that will have like the actual like lens, and they'll like look at it and they'll like click like a machine under it, and then they'll look at it again. What's the difference in the schools, and which one are you?
I couldn't say that there's a huge difference in the school. I think it's just approach. Some older DPs are just like, I see it. Like you said, I see the Matrix. I see it.
Yeah.
I'm probably more of that school of pre-visualization, like trying to see a picture before you whip out a camera. You see it in your mind's eye, and then you try to recreate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, basically, with that, when did you learn lighting? Like, so you're 15, you learn it. Did you know lighting by the time you were in your dorm room?
No, not at all. I would say at 15 that was kind of the first little nugget of inspiration. It was a first spark, but I didn't really get into photography until like freshman year.
Did you go to school for photography?
I had 2 courses, didn't do a whole lot for me. It really was trial and error. I'm serious. So that journey, being in an academic setting, the first course was enlightening. I learned a lot of things. I wanted to move to an advanced because I thought that I was in that space. They said, no, you're not there yet. You go to the intermediate.
Yeah.
I got there like I was teaching that teacher stuff about Photoshop at the time.
Oh, goodness.
So it's like, this is doing nothing for me, so I'm just going to go off and teach myself.
So you got a degree in something else, or?
Business and marketing education. Yeah.
And how much did that affect your craft now?
A lot. From the business standpoint, it was a very smart move going down that road versus I initially wanted to go to school for graphic design.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing that I think you did like a series where you took a picture of me and I was like looking off into the right or something like that. What was that series again?
People in Minneapolis. So that's still on the website.
Yeah, I mean that was a cool thing, and then you just had a little blurb about each person, and it seemed to draw up attention. What influenced that?
I think probably Humans in New York was a really big influence. That's the guy kind of going around finding people on the street to interview.
Yeah.
And me wanting to do something like that here. At that point, I knew a lot of people in the Twin Cities, and it's like it'd be a really cool project if I could photograph these people and show them to more people.
How many did you get?
I want to say it was like around 100.
Damn.
That whole project was over a year.
It sounds like it would take that, man. Like you can't just be like, wheeling and dealing, calling folks. I mean, it's tough. Are you familiar with Wing?
Yes, absolutely.
Wing Young?
Wing Young Huey, yeah.
Wing Young Huey?
Yeah.
His work changed the game for me as well.
Yeah.
Frogtown, Lake Street. I mean, has that impacted you at all, some of his work?
Absolutely. Wing came and spoke to one of my art classes in college.
Okay.
I was familiar with his work before then, but again, seeing him in person was like, this is amazing.
Have you ever wanted to do anything like that? Like just go into the community and just get shots?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
where would you go? Where would you go if
I don't know. I'm always looking for something like that. And for me, People in Minneapolis was kind of like that. That was my let's go out in the community and find people.
I feel like if I could do that, I'd go to Riverside Plaza, right off the bat. I mean, because that's where I grew up. Would you go to somewhere around St. Paul, or would it be Minneapolis?
I probably would do St. Paul. So I probably would do Frogtown. There are a lot of characters in Frogtown, and
I feel like University Ave has changed too. There's a lot.
So much.
Yeah.
So much. When I grew up, it was ducking and dodging police and prostitutes and pimps. And it was that type of environment.
Longfellow had the same thing. I mean, there's a lot of Minneapolis health clubs. They had the sauna, Minnehaha, and Lake.
Yeah.
And in the 90s or the late 80s, there was some deal between, I believe, the Minneapolis Police Department and the MOD, or whatever the word is for the head in charge of the business. But then all those just like faded away, and then like you had an entirely different south side of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
So Frogtown, I feel like if you do Frogtown, you got to do Como High School. I think the like soccer team won state a few years ago.
Absolutely.
It was like all brown kids. It was just like
feel some type of way about that. Like, yeah.
no, yeah, I saw that at Connie's Creamery. They had the picture up, and I was like, what? I was like, why wasn't this in the papers?
Right. It's a huge thing.
Yeah. So Annie Leibovitz does these pictures of these famous people in these, pretty candid type of shoots. Like Bill Gates was, she had a whole setup for him, and then she ended up getting him while he was in his office. Just like taking a step away to take a phone call.
Yeah.
2 questions. What would be your top 3 to take photos of?
Okay.
And then secondly, well, I'll get to the second one. The second one, because I usually forget what I'm saying before I finish my question. Top 3 people you'd want to take photos of, and then 2, what's the best shot you've gotten from just a candid situation? Just like, and it was like, stepped outside the studio, made it happen.
Oh, that's a tough one. I got 2.
Okay.
Dead or Alive?
Dead or alive? Yeah, that's even more interesting.
Obama, MLK, be top 2.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, we're not. Is Malcolm kind of like a close third, or maybe like?
He could be a close third.
You're a close third.
Let's throw him in there. Let's throw him in there. Top 3. There you go.
I mean, MLK would be a fascinating character. I feel like Malcolm, you might know what you're gonna get. Martin, you may not. Just
It'd be a big question mark.
it would.
Yeah.
It would. And then, what's the best shot you've gotten, or some of your work that you've gotten in candid situations where it was a studio setup, and then they stepped out and you got it, or has that never happened in your career?
There's been candid stuff in the studio. I would say, I think the best answer I can give to this has nothing to do with the studio. I think it's probably one of the first pictures that I took that I felt I could really do this. It was during Katrina, actually. So
Oh, really?
I was in South Florida on a family vacation. We got hit by Katrina.
Yeah.
It was wild. We didn't know how bad it was until we got back up here for like New Orleans and everyone else.
Wow.
But it washed a bunch of stuff on shore, and it was just a photo of a snail that kind of got washed up on the pavement. And I don't know, I used like a flashlight on a phone to kind of illuminate it at night.
Yeah.
It's a crappy picture, but at the time I was like, this is really cool.
This says a lot.
It says a lot. Yeah,
Damn.
absolutely.
That's amazing. When I first worked with you, I thought that you were a full-time photographer. And
I'm glad that I could fool you into believing that.
you did. But you gave up, well, you had your own studio.
Yeah.
And 2, you had all your own equipment, and like, you had this fog machine, and like, I mean, we still use those pictures to this day,
Yeah.
Even though I've aged a little bit. But you were really on your game, and then you're like, oh yeah, I got to work that day, and I was like, oh, you do more photos? And you're like, oh no, I'm working at the Genius Bar. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, got a day job. Didn't know that. At what point is photography? Do you still have a day job? And 2, if not, when were you able to make the leap from part-time to full-time?
Yeah. No longer employed by Apple. I left about 4 years ago.
Okay.
I'd been there for 3 years, and it became increasingly difficult to juggle the 2. I mean, I'd be behind the bar trying to help customers there, and my phone's blowing up from clients asking where pictures are. At some point, it's like, I have to make this leap. Like, now's the time. I got to use this momentum, and we'll make something happen with it.
Were you scared at all to make the leap?
Absolutely. The timing wasn't good. It was not good timing. I had a lot of work coming in. I was like, okay, I'm feeling this. I can leave now and I'll be good. Left Apple and nothing.
What?
Yeah.
So it just got cold.
It got so cold, so quick. I was like, oh, that was a really stupid idea. That was not a smart idea.
How much time has to pass without like a job happening before it's like, it's getting cold outside?
For me, a couple of weeks. And I start feeling the itch.
Couple of weeks? weeks?
Yeah, a couple of
For
weeks.
actors, it's like a couple months.
No, a couple of weeks. I'm like, email's dry, phone's not ringing.
If the emails are dry, that's messed up. That's when it's the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks and I'm itching. But you know, I started with personal work, so I kind of always revert back to that. You know, regardless of how busy I am, just having personal stuff to keep me busy is really important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you like personal projects like people in Minnesota, or
Yeah,
what was it, people
sure.
in Minneapolis?
Yeah, people in Minneapolis, yeah.
Minneapolis, okay. Nobody from St. Paul felt offended by that?
Honestly, I took pictures of people all over. So people in St. Paul, Minneapolis.
How dare you?
Farmington.
Oh my goodness.
All over.
Okay.
All over. The umbrella, the title, it kind of
Farmington.
PPL of MPLS. I thought was kind of
Oh, yeah, PPL of MPLS, yeah.
But really, it was all over Minnesota.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Yeah, well, I'm curious, what is the next, oh wait, you never said, what was, the snail shot.
Yeah.
What is the next like project that you've been thinking about or like envisioning? Like I know, because we get mused sometimes and we're like, oh, you know, that'd be pretty cool, huh? And then we may not follow through with it, or there's like a big grandiose idea. And I have one, and I came to you years ago with it, and I'm still gonna try to go through with it. But what is a vision that you've had for a while, like a project, like a PPL and MPLS 2 or something like what's one that's coming up? And maybe you don't want to reveal it, but what is, you can give us like details of it. If you got it.
There's so many that at this point they're really ambitious, and I get scared by some of those ideas. Like I would need this type of budget and this type of crew and this much time to make it happen.
Yeah.
I think that's one big reason why I started pushing more into film.
Oh.
Honestly.
So before we get into film, there is a picture I wanted to talk about, and I want to ask you, what was the labor that went into it? It's a giant picture that kind of overlaps, and it has, I think, a dozen or half dozen black females in high places of power or authority or occupation. Where did that start, and how did that come to fruition? And what was that project? I forget the name.
Yeah, so the name of the project was Back to Black.
Okay.
It was for a magazine called Fashion Odds. The creative director, Parker Parker, was from here. I think he moved out to LA a couple of years ago. And his idea was just to bring together influential professional women, black women in the Twin Cities. And he had kind of struggled to find a photographer to take the project on. He went to a number of different photographers. He said that the number one response that he heard was, "I don't know how to light black women." I know, right?
My goodness.
Yeah. I was like, So he sat down with me, and I was flabbergasted. I'm dumbfounded. Like, it's not rocket science. Like, there's some science, but it's not.
Okay, and so it came to you, and you were like, yeah, let's do it.
Let's go.
How many women were in it?
12.
12. Okay, so I guess right, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But did you stretched it out though? Like, how did you end up doing? Did you Photoshop it as well afterwards?
Yes. You've been in the space. You've seen the studio.
It was in that studio.
It was in the studio.
You made it look like it was like, you know, like at 1414 or whatever that
Yeah.
other one is in Northeast with like the giant football field backdrop.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, wow. And where can people still find that photo, or
Yeah,
can
it's
they?
on the website. It's on
Okay,
the website.
the website is
My website, chrismcduffie.photography.
MCDUFFIE.com.
photography. No.
Dot photography. Dot photography.
I got one of those new TDLs.
Not .com.
It's
Dot
not
photography.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. Yeah, that one's pretty amazing. And getting back into lighting, there was a lighting director or some exec talking about lighting black people on Issa Rae's Insecure.
Yeah.
You say it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Why are people writing articles about it like it is?
That's a great question. No, I know a little bit of the history. So it goes back to the film days of actual film stock. And the way that they rated the film stock was for people that were more fair-skinned. So that kind of leaves out any POCs altogether.
Okay.
And you know, the industry is very old and insular, and even if things move into digital, they still kind of use standards that are by film.
Okay.
So that's one of the cool things with digital. It gives folks a voice who never really had a voice. So we're seeing a lot of black art that we weren't before, which is amazing.
So what is this? Now you're working with film. What are you doing with that?
Right now, this year's been a lot of small projects, existing clients, branded content, a few personal projects, like a music video I'm shooting next week I'm really excited about. Short film, I'm pitching to a few film fests, excited about that too. So,
Okay. How's audio working out for you?
We won't talk about that. Not here, because there's a lot of curse words that I love to use. And
Yeah.
I don't know if this is that type of program.
I've never heard you curse before.
I just said shit on this thing. Remember we were talking about shitty rigs?
We're talking about shitty rigs, but I brought up shitty rigs. You didn't say shitty.
That's fair.
I said it was.
That's
I
fair.
opened the door and you kind of, we'll walk with it.
I try to keep it professional. Like you try to,
And
try to don a demeanor.
I was going to get towards that once we wrap up film, your demeanor, but what projects or where do you hope to go with film? And will photography still be a part of your career and toolbox?
Always and forever.
Okay.
With the film, I want to get more into narrative work.
Uh-huh.
I think my trajectory, hopefully into that, or doing shorter pieces, web content, music videos, things like that. But just doing some longer form stuff is ultimately where I want to wind up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you need somebody to talk in the foreground or walk in the background, you know where I am.
Just Tucson in the background.
Hey, I've been an extra before. Nothing's below me.
Yes, yeah.
Nothing's below me. Everything is above me. And kind of like semi-wrapping up your demeanor, and I've talked to some artists about this, but when I first met you, you had this very kind of calming, almost ASMR-like voice, very chill, very, we're just here to do this thing. And I remember the first shoot I did with you, I brought half my wardrobe. And I just lopped it on, and I was sweating, and I was just like, and then you were like, hey, and then like, I just put this jacket on, and you're like, and you started cranking out the fog machine, and then it just looked phenomenal. And it's kind of like, hey, just chill out, like we got this.
Yeah.
From that point on, I brought less wardrobe to photo shoots.
Sure.
But going back to the beginning of the question, is this just who you are, or did you learn from somebody like in the beginning that said, hey, you don't need to be like this with people, or like this is the way to be when working with clients?
No. I would say in my mind it is that. It's always like freaking out.
Yeah.
Like the world's gonna end tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'm always trying to fight that. So I feel that regardless of what's going on in my mind, I know that what I project is what people will receive. So it's important to just be chill. Even though stuff's like, the wheels are always turning.
I would
mind's
never have guessed
quiet.
that, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that last shoot we did was with like 5 to 6, tweens and early 20-something-year-olds. It worked out. It worked out. The album's out, and it's a phenomenal cover. But you were able to like rally everybody in together, which is not easy. So in your mind, the world is ending, but you're keeping it cool.
That's it.
Do you have any coping mechanisms you want to share with people, or?
A little bit of deep breathing and meditation. That always works.
Fair enough.
Actually, no. Yeah, I would say that that's funny you ask, because I don't think anybody's ever asked me that in that way. As a kid, I remember my mom kind of telling me, just take a few deep breaths. Like whenever you feel that things are getting too crazy, like just stop and take a few deep breaths, close your eyes, open your eyes, and be present in the world.
My mom told me to take deep breaths and rub my shoulder, like put my right arm on my left shoulder. And it was the first time I went to visit the black side of my family in Detroit, which for me was like terrifying because I was with nobody I knew at all. I was with my dad, who I just like knew for some time, but hadn't seen in like a few years, and just all new people. And I was like, breathe deep, rub your shoulder, breathe deep, rub your shoulder. It probably would do me good to do that sometimes on sets. So breathe deep, and then how have you also been with clients as well? Like, what's kind of your mantra when because clients can get frazzled, I assume, all the time. I mean, they're going blitzkrieg, or they're trying to get something done, especially in corporate situations. What's been your mantra and approach with people, to work with people, and kind of, I don't know, have an empathy or to be soft with them?
Trying to be reassuring that everything will be okay. Like, we've done the legwork to get to this point.
Yeah.
We're going to walk through the plan, and we'll see it through. And then just kind of giving people space to freak out. I think that's important too.
Yeah.
Let them freak out. Get it all out. Like, once you have it out, it's like, okay. Just like my mom used to tell me, are you done whining? Wonderful, let's move forward. Let's go.
Yeah.
You've got it all out.
Get out of your system.
Get out of your system.
So what are some projects you're hoping to do in the future?
Again, back to film. Like, I don't want to spill too many beans, but I've got some friends that are writing scripts for some things that I will hopefully shoot on the film side.
Okay.
Coming soon. I've got a few film projects that I'm working on. I see a lot of the future being in film. There's a lot of opportunity, especially online, social media. Individuals, companies, they need content. Video is a powerful medium, obviously, to communicate those ideals.
It is. Lastly, in a lot of our industry, trust is like it's invaluable. It's golden.
Yeah.
How do you gain somebody's trust and like instill that with some people? Because I mean, we were in an industry where like vulnerability is, highlighted.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can be taken advantage of, and it's just it's fickle. How do you build trust and kind of hold to that? I mean, like keep a code with somebody.
Yeah. At this point, I think having built up a reputation and a career, that trust is largely dependent upon other people.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't really advertise. Everything's word of mouth.
That is crazy, man.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, I'll be like, yeah, I did this with McDuffie. Oh yeah, I know that guy. And it's like, my God, man, that's not bad at all. I mean, that's got to be testament to you being cooler than the other side of the pillow. That people are just like, oh yeah, that guy, that's fine. Yeah.
I'm a decade in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you
so
are.
like it's been building all that up over the years. Just kind of doing what you say you're going to do a good job, and encourage people to maybe tell a friend to if I bring any value to you.
Yeah. So when these films come out, just for people, if they want to check out more of your work, where can they find that?
All the social media accounts: Chris McDuffie Photography, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It'll be on all of them.
You have a LinkedIn.
Right. That's actually really important. So for years, I couldn't hack LinkedIn. For years, it was just a lot of kind of trying to connect with people, throw out connections, whatever. And like last fall, something clicked. Something clicked, and it's been a huge tool for finding work.
Huh. Okay.
I don't know what happened. I don't know. I didn't do anything different. I swear it. I probably wasn't on it for the year prior to that at all. Not posting, not really doing anything. And last fall, I put out a post. It was a ton of response, and reconnected with a lot of people. Connected with new people. Kind of kept it churning.
Man, maybe I need to do LinkedIn.
I'm encouraging everyone.
Okay, all right.
You were surprised how many creative directors and even people at small businesses that need actors. Like, I have this project coming up and we need talent.
Yeah, I need to cast soon. Last question, or last thing. There's a book by a black gentleman who had a foreword by Wing Young Huey that said, as artists of color or photographers of color will forever be viewed through the prism of race before we're viewed through the prism of an artist first. Do you remember the name of the gentleman that it said, art is my weapon, or the camera is my weapon?
I don't know if that was Gordon Parks or not. It sounds
Gordon
like
Parks.
Yeah,
it was Gordon Parks.
Yeah.
That sentence just stuck with me heavily. Have you ever felt that throughout your career? And if so, how has that galvanized you, or maybe even deterred you at times, or how has it affected you?
I think,
if it has.
Yeah, I think that the two are inseparable. So
Yeah.
you're always viewing yourself both as a professional creative photographer and as a black person, and trying to view yourself through other people's eyes, and how am I going to be received, and it gets really complex and weird, and I don't know. I try not to put too much stock into it. At this point, it's just kind of like do good work, and that's all I can do. I can't control outcome. I can only control process. Do good work. That's it. That's the only thing I can control.
Yeah, I think there's this thing where the more you worry about the outcome, like the rockier that ship, starts, rattling. Like it gets bad.
Absolutely.
Don't worry about the outcome. Worry about the process. But I'm gonna take that, chalk that note up in my own book. But yeah, so Chris McDuffie .photography.
Photography.
And it's CHRIS, not KRIS.
True. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the time, man. I appreciate this. I hope we have you back, talk about more projects and getting more specifics and all that good stuff. But thank you for the time, man.
I appreciate you, son. Thank you, man.
Cheers.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. All right.